Open loops. I mentioned this many times before, but one of the most important things that we do on a day-to-day basis is we kind of like our mind processes information, and sometimes we make decisions about them. So, and one of the worst things we could do is kind of like make a decision but not pull through. So, over the past week, 2 weeks, I decided to like take a step back from the things that I have to do every single day and to focus completely on the things I can complete. And when I say things that I can complete, like for example, every day I wake up in the morning, I exercise, like that has to happen every day. I walk, that has to happen every day. I I read, that has to happen every day. I also, for example, play guitar, that has to happen every day, and I read in French, that has to happen every day. But other stuff, for example, was I write, and the writings that I do, some of them are for a purpose, and some of them are for no purpose. The ones that are for no purpose, they don't really have to happen every day. Like anytime I think about them, they have to happen. But the ones that I do for a purpose, kind of like Small, require a certain uh, organization where I have to do them every day until I finish with them, right? But like, there's just not just it's not just like I write it every day when I'm done, I'm done, because there has to be some form of like reflection on them, editing behind them, and like an understanding of what exactly do I like complete within that stage. It's not like, all right, I build a house and then I fuck off. No, I have to live in it, and then while I'm living in it, I'm always like fixing something in it and like working on it. So it's not really a complete thing once you're done with it. It's a complete thing once you're finished with it. And there's a difference between being done with something and being finished with something. Being done with something is like it's there now. My yeah, that's how I'm trying to explain it at least. I don't know how you guys are gonna take it. But being finished with something is like, no, you're okay with it the way it is right now, and if anything in the future you come back to it, so it's no longer stuck in your head. So open loops. It's an open loop. And at one point, I remember talking about it maybe, but like I took a code camp that I didn't actually like finish a boot camp. Sorry, a coding boot camp, which I didn't really finish, and I took notes of that boot camp, and I spent a month and a half, just 2 months, about 50 days, to, I think 55 days or something, where I literally just every single day would go to the boot camp and like would try to like learn as much as I can and evolve through the actual technical things that they were trying to teach us, soft skills and actual technical skills. But so I sucked with the soft skills because everything soft skills is literally you just like selling yourself in an organized way for everyone else to be able to understand it. CVs, interviews, and all that bullshit. Like I aced them at the end and I fixed my CV and all these things, but it really just was not how I would have wanted to go for a boot camp. I just really wanted to learn code and fuck off. I don't want to learn all this shit. But that was back then. Like I have grown up and understood that that was just me being like, we all have those feelings when we're just like being needy or just like it's a baby reaction. It's like a baby just throwing a tantrum. I don't wanna, but you have to. But I don't wanna. Whatever. Anyways, so I wrote a series about them, which are basically Life at the Factory. That's how I called it because it has factory in the name. I'm not supposed to mention the name because I got kicked out, and that's part of the contract. But anyways, it's supposed to end. It ended. So at one point, while I was going through the factory, I was taking daily notes of what are the things that I'm going through, like emotions, feelings, because for me, I was more concerned with what I am going through, with whatever is happening, in order for me to understand, because I want to understand how I interact with things, and I want to evolve in like programming and coding and all these things. I know that the person that you are, and how you interact with the world is literally what you get out of it. You can wish for all the things in the world, but if you're not able to handle them, they will just come and go, and you won't be able to realize the opportunities, see them, notice them, or just handle them. So, anyways, and I took the time and I posted them on Medium, and I wrote them and I put them on Medium, but I never published them. Why? Because they needed editing. Grammar shit, just sometimes like incoherent thoughts, because like it took a lot of time for me to translate my direct notes into a storyline kind of thing, so it looks like a blog, in order for it to be like, if somebody wants to read it, for them to be able to like see something, understand something. And then basically I have to edit them in order for them to look nice. Like at the very least, like just everything grammar and punctuation, and just adding the smaller details that make the whole thing readable. Because like we all know how to speak or we know how to read. How do you translate your tone of voice to your writing, and how do you kind of like elaborate on your thought process and all these things in your writing as well? So they stayed there for a long time. I want to say about 4 months. They stayed there unedited. And when I was thinking about my open loops a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, okay, this is definitely something that I need to just get out of my head. I need to get over because every once in a while you go like, oh, I should edit these things. Oh, I should finish them. I should. So I noted it as one of these things that I actually should finish, and I put it on the task list, and I secluded 2 days. I mean, like I started with the loops that are easier to finish, and then I was like, because like some loops where you need just like a 4 hour stretch, and then you'll be done with it. And let me, if I look into my schedule, I can actually point one out maybe. Uh, one of the loops was one of the loops was finish reading the books that I actually wrote, because I wrote part one, a book part one, and I need to start writing a book part two. So I have to finish reading, for example, that one, which was easy. And then after finishing it, I have to kind of like I have to finish reading it, and there's a small part that I have to write that ends it, and I have to figure out, and I'll talk about the ending in a different video because that happens so fucking beautifully. It's just amazing. It's just amazing for me naturally. I don't know how people would see that book when they read it, but like and it still needs a whole lot of like editing and a whole lot of things, but like the preliminary thing that you put on paper. And then after that, I just wanted to finish reading them so it is in my head, and I do something else, and then I come back with like after finishing something else, the other loop, I'll be able to come back to it and then just basically have a more objective instead of just like I need to finish it, I need to finish it. Would have done something else. My mind would have like taken a step back, and when I come back to it, I'm looking at it from a different angle and a different person's perspective. So, anyways, and I put one, two, literally, I started on Monday, and by Tuesday, I had finished editing them all, which is fucking perfect and amazing. And I started basically one at a time, editing, and I finished it. So, the beauty of that is it made me feel so productive that I am getting things done, even though what the hell is this, like, right? It's just like some random thing that I decided to do on my own at one point. And I found myself just like, it's stuck in my head. It consumed space, it consumed energy. So this open loop, and even after I was done, because after I was done, I realized the last day, the day I said no, thank you very much. I don't want to work with you guys anymore. And even though they wanted to fire me, they wanted to let me go. They gave me the option of like staying and sticking it out and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what, man, just like I'm not gonna do this. So that day, it was never written, and I had never noticed that it was never written. And because I went through it and I edited them all and I posted them all, I by the end of it, I felt like so fucking good, and I felt so like I'm on top of the world, like I can do anything. And it's just this feeling that comes every single time you kind of like do something that hasn't been done in a while, or that hasn't been approached in a while, or that. I don't know how to. I don't think anyone could articulate such feelings. I don't think anyone could articulate such feelings with the same words that we use. I really think it has to be explained a certain kind of way. So when I finished, when I finished editing whatever was written, I realized there was one day missing. And I took charge of it on Thursday and I wrote it down, and that basically closed that loop. And naturally, once you close a loop, you have empty space in your head. And that empty space it was very brief. It was very brief. It was like literally for 3 to 5 minutes. And then after that, I go like, okay, so the whole point of this series was for those 2 months what I have been doing or what I was trying to do. And it only makes sense that there is the months afterwards, life after the factory. And it hit me and I'm like, oh fuck. So I took it as a note and I wrote it down. I'm like, no. Since what I was doing back then was documenting my day-to-day activities to see how I actually progress in order for me to understand myself and all these things. it makes sense for me to like document the rest of the months afterwards until like every major decision, like step by step, how I took them, which is effectively what I'm doing right now with these videos, right? So that basically created another goal to achieve, which could be planned much easier simply because this one is done. And it's fascinating because the minute this one was done, I looked at myself and I was like, okay, so I have to like finish writing the books, and it literally was like 8 pages that need to be written. And I'm literally, I write books based on like the copybooks that I have. So if I still have 5 more pages in the copybook, that means the book is not done. So the ending literally has to be on the last page or before last page. Like no, 1 page is good, but if I have 4 empty pages, my mind is always going to be like, it's still not complete. You should have written more. You should have done more. But I wanted to share the uh, by when I finished writing the last one, which was day 50, the way everything just came back to me, completely designed anew based on the editing that I've done and the storyline that I told, created a small part of me. It's like taking, it's like it's like cells that are old replaced by new. It's basically an old engine replaced by new parts. It was an hour of pure bliss where everything just went kind of like refreshed. And the whole thing that was taking so much space and that over a period of months became just one simple element that's there for me to utilize and to go back to and to be able to understand. And that was the experience. And that was something that, like, and ultimately, like, once you're done with something, well, the first thing you want to do is what else am I going to do? And is it pertaining it or not? So, like, I already have my plans towards what the next step will be towards that thing. But finishing it was the actual finishing it up to my standards or up to my capacity right now and being okay with it, right? Like it's not so all of these, I really wanted to stress them out and I really wanted to like make it a point to like discuss the importance of it and how I need to actually factor it in my life for every single month. Need to look at my planning and all the things that I do, and I need to structure. Okay, what are the things that I actually have been doing that need to be complete? Because it took me 4 months not even to start, but only 2 days to finish them. And 2 days, like 4 hours every day, 3 hours every day. It's not like I was like doing a lot. But it was like, okay, take a break, come back to it, come back to it. And before I used to like put them in snippets, like 1 hour do this, 1 hour do that. But once I fully immersed myself in it, it was like completely intensely done. And that opened up like my mind to like think of different things. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Thank you.